So now we are sitting here, me and Odd, and in this session we will share some knowledge and give some tips and tricks for Gotland Runt sailors. And the mainly target group for this session is the first-time sailor of Gotland Runt. But I think even more experienced sailor can get some good tips. And we will divide this session in 3 parts. We will talk about preparations for Gotland Runt, we will be talking about the days around start, and we will talk about the race. So, who are we? My name is Philip, and I'm a member of OSS's Information Committee, and I've sailed 15 Gotland Runt. Beside me, you, Odd, sitting here, and you are a really experienced Gotland Runt sailor. How many Gotland Runt have you been sailing?
I've done 48 Gotland Runt.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So at that time, when I was very active, I assisted a lot of boat owners with measuring and optimization of the rating.
Okay.
And I did some yacht design as well. I designed the first, we call it Mini 12. Now it's called 2.4 meter R boat. It has been used in Paralympics, for example. So that is exactly 40 years ago.
Let's start with the preparations. And one area that I know that both you and me think is very important, that's goal setting and to create a happy boat feeling. What is your experience of that, Odd?
Yeah, first of all, there are different wordings in this area. One is there are three things, race is 3 things, preparations, preparations, and preparations. Another wording is that 80% is preparations. So, and what I have in mind is that we have different phases of preparations as well. Now, let's start with preparations early season, like now it's April. We can set a lot of programming of this race season, so to say. We can do the programming of what kind of crew do we like to have, what experiences do we have in the crew, what roles do we have within this crew. This will lead to the watch system, etc. later on.
And when we talk about goal setting and vision, what kind of, how should we be thinking about goals for Gotland Runt?
I think it's important that we have one crew sharing one vision, so we don't have the various parts of the crew with various ambitions and intentions. I've seen so many crews that some of the crew, they believe that they can be top 10, some just like to attend, and some I don't know why they are there actually. And that will be frustration and less energy in that crew, because you will have disputes potentially. So it is very, very important.
I see. So to make a summarize, to start already now in April to talk about goal setting and make a structure for the goal setting, and also share your personal goal setting for this race.
Exactly.
So that everybody are on the same level.
We are of course coming into tighter and tighter preparations that are closer to the safety on board, or the navigation part, or the trim part, etc.
Exactly.
Everything around the technical aspects of the boat. So of course we are coming closer and closer and closer. And it's the navigation part. I can just say that what I do is just to sail, so to say, Gotland Runt in the computer every day from early May.
Okay. Interesting.
Just to make sure that if I have 48 Gotland Runt in my experience, I might think that there is a typical thing there, is a typical thing there, but it isn't.
Okay.
So get rid of them and just pick up every kind of weather system that I can follow from May, for example, and to start. That is preparation of navigation. And of course, the inshore part is very important to do a lot of preparations, and that you prepare the crew that this is what you will meet. A lot of boats, a lot of islands, a lot of stones, and a tricky wind. So mentally, that is a very hard part of the race. For me as a navigator, I'm totally exhausted when I enter the Baltic Sea after one day in the archipelago. So that should be well prepared for. Safety, yeah, I think everyone should think about their area on board, think about their opportunities to do a risk minimization, and to mitigate the risks, and together talk about safety on board. I think we are talking much more about the weather 2 days before the race. We should talk more about how all the crew will be part or sharing a success or whatever it is.
So then we have this area that it's really important to be close friend with your boat. And it's different areas in this, but you can talk about on-water preparations. What is your thought about that?
Yeah, now we're entering the area that I think most sailors are looking forward to, just to be out on water. But we need to have a structure. We all like to sail, but you have to have a structure, a method to do the documentations of what you are doing. First of all, you have a set of sails that you need to select for this specific race, and to make sure that you know exactly when you select the specific sail. And you know how to trim all the sails. You have a documentation on that as well. So I think that is extremely important based on documentation, and that's not what we are looking forward to, but we have to. And of course, the same goes with the rig trim.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we are talking about the maneuvers, and they should be documented as well per role. You need to go down to all the details. So if you have to change a crew member, this is the part of the handbook that you can handle.
So you have a description for all the boat handling situations.
Yeah, exactly, including the trim. Exactly.
Okay. And when it comes to safety, to be close friend with your boat in a safety system.
Yeah, I think most of what we are talking about when sailing can be adopted to a scenery where we have, for example, a man overboard situation, or even fire on board, or what it can be. So we have all the roles defined. Which crew member is doing what in that kind of situation. So we can have all the best equipment for safety, for rescuing a man overboard person, for example. But if we don't first talk about it, and then practice, and then talk, and then practice, it might mess up anyway. So don't forget that.
Now it comes to the days around start, when we come out to Djurgården, and we have done the preparation. And one of the most important part is the self-inspection for the skipper to have in mind. And then we have this protocol that the skipper is responsible for to filling in. And we have a lot of good information on KSS's website for Gotland Runt, that you have a video clip around this, and you have also a PowerPoint. But Odd, what would you like to add to this protocol here?
First of all, that this is what you follow from now, April, May, June, to make sure that you have all the things prepared for, that all the crew members are prepared for their personal part of it, like life vests are inspected, etc. But when we are now in this area, the days before start, there are focus on some specific things like food and water. We will talk about the watch systems. But I will start with one thing, just a reminder. The telephone line is a lifeline. We have various lifelines on the boat, but nowadays the mobile phone is a lifeline for this specific race. You will have one phone number registered at KSSs.
Okay.
And you will communicate back to race office, and they might communicate to all the sailors. So keep that in a plastic bag to make sure it stands water, and make sure that you can use it at any time.
Yeah.
It could be for rescuing, of course, but it is for race reporting.
So full loaded.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
yeah.
One question that we have, all of us, is before the days before start, is how much water should we bring on board? Could we say something about that, or
No.
It's too difficult.
Well, I don't want to say something else than let all the crew members be involved in the discussion. What do we use water for, and how much are we allowed to use, and how much, of course, do we bring?
Yeah. But to do a research for the water, and how much water do we need on board? That's very important. Okay. And when it comes to food, it's really important. I would like to have warm food the second night when it's cold outside. How do you think about food? What is working and what is not working?
It's hard to say, but it's important that it is working. You should be able to have warm food.
Yeah, so warm food is important.
Hot food. And it is more windy out there than we can believe. So sometimes it is not that easy to handle the cooking.
Okay, so we get hot food from the inside, and then it could be really cold also. On the nights it could be really cold.
Yeah, it is.
So what kind of clothes? It could be cold, and it could be really wet outside there.
Yeah. We should remember that the water temperature used to be 13 to 14 centigrades in early July in the Baltic Sea. So the water is cold, the air might be cold, especially at night time. So it's extremely important that you keep yourself dry. You should have very, very warm clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, you know the cold nights on a rail. Yeah. So here, if we come back here to the preparations, when we talk about vision, if we talk about the watch system here, then we can have what is our ambition for the watch system? How much should we sit on the rail? Should we sit and be cool on the rail and try to sleep there, or should we have a little bit more nice feeling to go down in a boat and sail? What kind of how can we talk about that?
All boats will have various ambitions. The important thing is that we have the same ambition on board our boat. So we have talked about ambition, our intention beforehand. So we all know that it is given that we sit on the rail all the way down to Hoburgen, if it's a beat down there. and that we don't have to find the skipper at the leeward bunch.
So when we talk about rules on board, then it also could be one rule to remind ourselves about our vision that we said. Okay, do you remember that in our vision we talk about that we should sit on the rail even on the night because we would like to come on this place or what?
Exactly. That's very, very important. You might need a wording that is your common ambition.
Okay, Odd. Now we come to the race. When do the race start? When we go into race mode?
Yeah, I think almost everyone we start at the skippers meeting. We will get some important information maybe. The second part of that is on Sunday morning that we have a short briefing where we see the latest forecast. So I think when we are on Saturday evening with the skippers meeting, everything should be set. The crew is there, the boat is race ready, and the next morning is more of personal preparations. What do you do before start in your just routine that you need to have? And the dry sailing includes that the inshore part, especially in the Stockholm area, is tricky because the wind is coming over the hills. Sometimes it's no wind, sometimes it's harder wind, sometimes we meet a totally different wind. And this time of the year we have the sea breeze, so we might have a calm period and then we have the sea breeze. So it's good to know where the sea breeze starts. We might have sea breeze for the rest of the inshore part as well, dying of course in the late afternoon or evening. Then when we pass Sandhamn, we are on next tricky area, because then you are exhausted, especially as a navigator or trimmer or helmsman. You're exhausted. It's evening, the first evening is getting darker. It's very important that you start this part of the race in a good way for the first night.
And also the risk mitigation that you talk a lot about. Don't take too much risk in the beginning of the race.
Yeah. And what is risk? Risk is splitting with the fleet. Next risk is that we are sailing on shallow waters. On the eastern side of Gotland, we have a lot of parts that are shallow water. So decide on how shallow you allow your crew to sail. And stay active in talking about them. Because offshore racing can of course be boring for some parts if you don't have anything to do on board. But make sure that you have something to
exactly.
do.
So that could be one rule to take up things to talk about.
Exactly. Where are all the competitors? That one we know, that one we know. Of course we use the AIS now. But
how can we use the AIS?
Yeah, it's about speed, it's heading,
Okay.
to understand if they gain or if they lose on around us. But it's important to keep track on of the boats as well. Various pinnacles, various lights, etc. And that's one thing, just to keep active. And some of you might count the waves, or you check the clouds, etc.
Last but not least, it's nowadays mandatory to use the life jackets for the whole race. And for the details around this, you can find it on the notice of the race. But it's mandatory to use it the whole race. It's not up to the skipper to decide when we should use it. So that's important to remember.
Yeah.
And what do we have here on?
The harness, and it's not mandatory, but I think each crew shall set the rules for when it's mandatory. For example, nighttime or rough conditions, or what you decide. Make sure that you have equipment so we can welcome you back to Sandhamn.
That we would like absolutely to do. Okay. What should we end with, Odd? Should we, do you like to add something for your funniest Gotland Runt? What has happening?
The funniest? Well, there are so many. I used to say that you will sail again because you have had good times, and you will sail again because you need some revenge. The best thing is, of course, I've been sailing on many nice boats, and the most important is that we have a good team spirit, a feeling of being with the best friends on board. I can't say anything better. I mean, I've sailed fast or I've sailed fun boats, but at the end, I will just talk about the team spirit.
Yeah, to have a happy boat, that we have a nice...
of course, exactly. That is what I go for.
Yeah. And that gives a lot of other things also to have.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you all for this session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.